Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.
Hello and welcome along to the Racing Post Football Postcast. I'm Dave Clark of the Racing Post. I'm joined by colleagues James Milton, and the champ is in the house, Joe Champion. Also on the line we've got Adrian Croak from Paddy Power. Adrian, how's things? Are you missing the Premier League already?
Yeah, it's getting a bit sad and lonely around here without any football on. So this weekend, once it's done and dusted, we've nothing until the Confederations Cup.
Well, we've got the big one to come, the Champions League, which we'll discuss a little bit later on. James, we'll start with you. Have a little chat about what's been going on in the world of football since the Premier League finished, Premier League finished, and the Championship playoff final was on Monday. What did you make of that? It wasn't exactly an exciting affair.
It wasn't a spectacle to savour, but it's obviously one that's going to live long in the memories of Huddersfield fans. And it's a fantastic achievement from David Wagner and his side. What I would say, I think Paddy Power are now 4-7 about Huddersfield getting relegated, and that, I'm afraid, looks pretty realistic for any Terriers fans who are going to come back down to earth with a bump. I mean, there were some early quotes of 11-10 about them, which, if you manage to smash up any of those, you're going to be on very good terms with yourself. I just think, obviously it's there's never a bad time to be promoted to the Premier League when you talk about the kind of figures that Huddersfield's accountants will now be looking at. But I just think this season particularly, Newcastle and Brighton look pretty well equipped to compete. And so I think it is going to be tough for them up there, particularly as they had so many loanees. They're going to have to use the loan system wisely again. Maybe end up with Jack Wilshere and Daniel Sturridge or someone in there. But it's going to be tough for them. But yeah, fantastic achievement to get to the Premier League in the first place.
Joe, first time back in the top flight since 1972. Milks has already popped that bubble before they've even kicked the ball. Do you hold any hope for Huddersfield in the Premier League?
Not really, to be honest. Like James said, the 11-10 was a fantastic price, and now they're probably a lot more realistic at 4-7. I think they might start okay. A bit like Middlesbrough, they started okay.
I was going to say, do you think they might be a little bit like Middlesbrough? They don't seem to be a side with bundles of goals in them, but they might be well drilled and tough to break down at the start of the season.
I think that is possible. I mean, they've got they started really well in the Championship, and then they sort of fizzled out. They eventually finished fifth in the league. They've been going toe to toe with Brighton and Newcastle for some time, and then after Christmas it all went a bit sour. But they turned it around, to be fair to them, and did win the playoffs. But they can't do that in the Premier League next year.
And Adrian, have you seen any money in these markets that we've already touched on? Yeah, obviously betting on relegation to finish bottom, top and bottom half finish. Give us some prices, and as I say, where's the money been?
Yeah, so as already quoted, the Huddersfield is 4-7 relegated. Down there with him is Brighton at 6-5, Burnley third 7-5, Watford 13-8, Swansea 23-10, and Newcastle at 7-2. The last of the promoted teams up there. And we currently have Huddersfield on site at 2-1 fav to finish bottom. Their next favourite then is Brighton 4-1, Burnley 9-2, Watford 13-2.
Yeah, as I say, I think every single firm of them rated as the favourites to finish bottom. Gents, does that look the way? That could be the smart way to play?
It could be. I mean, you worry because there's teams like Sunderland, obviously this year, who might not be fancied at the start of the season, but when things go badly, it can be very difficult to get out of their slump. So whereas Huddersfield's players you'd think would keep on going right to the end. Their first season in the Premier League, and even if they do look doomed, there'll be some players kind of hoping to catch the eye of other top flight sides. So it's, probably the 4-7 is probably the right price. It's not obviously one you want to be backing now particularly, but no, I'd probably leave them alone to finish bottom, but it is going to be very, very tough for them.
Okay, moving on. James, I know you're an Arsenal fan. I'll stick with you. FA Cup success, and since then, probably the worst kept secret. Arsene Wenger 2-year deal. How do you feel about that? I know you joined the Wenger out brigade.
I did, kind of reluctantly. I wasn't piloting any planes or joining any rallies outside the Emirates, but I just feel, particularly after that performance in the FA Cup final, obviously thoroughly enjoyable from an Arsenal perspective, but you're also wondering where were those performances earlier in the season. I don't think it's just that Per Mertesacker deigned to join us for the last game of the season. I think it would have been a great moment for Wenger to leave, but I mean they're going to have to drag him out of there, aren't they?
Take it as a compliment, James. I think you'd stick out like a sore thumb on Arsenal fan TV. Anyway,
I know. Bruce mentioned that earlier in the season. Actually, I've still not had the call up. I'm far too meek and mild, I think. But next season, obviously, the uncertainty over Wenger's future, although it was, as you say, not much of a secret. I mean, that was not very well handled, I don't think. And now he's staying on, and now it's about whether Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil do the same, and if he bolsters the squad, because they weren't really at the races in the Premier League, even though they only ended up a point out of the top four.
Thursday night's beckon as well. I'm sure you're looking forward to that, James. Adrian, have you got some prices for us with sort of repercussions of that FA Cup success? Any movement in the Arsenal price?
Yeah, they managed to get into odds on for the top four finish, which I'm not quite sure about myself, but we're quoting them at 10 to 11 right now, and they're 11 to 1 to win the league next year.
Lots of question marks, as James mentioned, over Sanchez and Ozil. Yourself, how would you be looking at Arsenal or rating them going into next season already?
Going into next season, I mean, they're keeping Wenger, which I actually do think is a positive. Granted, this was kind of announced before the Tommy Tuchel getting the sack noise came about. Hanging on to Sanchez is really what they're going to have to do. I'm not convinced they really need to hang on to Ozil. I think they could probably replace him. He's never played as good at Arsenal as he played at Madrid. So if they can get in a better playmaker and get rid of Ozil for a few bob, they're probably best off doing so, I think.
Joe's a neutral punter. How do you weigh up Arsenal just quickly?
I wouldn't want to touch them for top four at the moment.
10 to 11, that's short.
Yeah, you look at the teams that finished ahead of them. I mean, Chelsea and Tottenham look miles better than Arsenal this year. And then, Manchester City, they've already started improving their squad. I expect that they'll be a top four team again. Manchester United, they'll be signing players left, right, and centre as well. And you've got to throw in Liverpool as well. I think it's going to be hard for them to get back in the Champions League places. Just quickly, Adrian, have you seen money for Man City since they've been splashing the cash already?
No, Man City kind of started at Fava. There was an expectation for them to splash the cash. It's really been Chelsea's where the money's been seen. They're probably a little big in the market scene, as United have been artificially short with the expectation they're going to purchase players. But until that happens, I think United are sitting way too short in the market myself.
It still feels very early for all that kind of chat. Right, it's competition time. You know the drill by now. Every Thursday we give listeners and viewers a chance to win £25 or €25 free bet, courtesy good friends at Paddy Power. All you have to do is answer the question, tweet your answer using the hashtag Postcast, like podcast, but Postcast. See what we've done there. Last week's winner was Stephen Power from Middlesex, who correctly answered that Sunderland finished bottom of the Premier League last season. Well done, Stephen. £25 free bet will be credited to your Paddy Power account. Now, a tricky question this week. Which team won the Championship playoff final last Monday? I don't even think you'll need to rewind the Postcast to answer that one, but tweet your answers using the hashtag Postcast, and you could be a winner like Stephen.
Check out Paddy's new VIPP Club. Get a £10 free bet every week when you place 5 bets of £10 or more. Max £10 bonus per person per week. Excludes shops. Selected odds. Conditions and exclusions apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Hi there, Dave Clark of the Racing Post. Welcome to the Racing Post Football Postcast, joined by colleagues the champion, Joe Champion, and James... Sorry, Milton, I forgot your name. James Milton, and Adrian Croak is on the line from our friends at Paddy Power, and we're going to talk the big one, the Champions League final. It's Juventus versus Real Madrid. It's the Italian champions against the Spanish champions. And give us some prices, Adrian.
So at current, we have Juventus at 15 to 8, the draw is 11 to 5, and Real Madrid at 31 to 20.
And how do we see this one going?
I'm a favour of Juventus here. I think to lift the cup at evens is probably the best one going here. I've backed them prior to the final, and I think they're probably just a better squad. I just feel they're a better squad than, as in a better team than Madrid. Madrid are more reliant on individuals, and Juventus just seem like to be a solid team.
Joe, almost a pick 'em to lift the trophy. Where do you favour?
Yeah, I definitely favour Juve. I mentioned them a few months ago on the podcast when they're 8 to 1. So I'm not sure I can quite bring myself to back him at even money now. But
Beautiful
yeah.
after timing there. It's not even over
well,
the line
if,
yet.
if I'd have backed him, it'd be after timing. But actually, I'm rather upset about that now. But I just think Real Madrid, they score a lot of goals, but if anyone can stop them, it's this Juve team. They're superb defensively, but I don't want to write them off going forward as well. That Dybala and Higuain, they're great. They're great finishers. They're being fed by the likes of Pjanic and Kedira, Marquezio. They've got fantastic players in behind them. So if they can limit Real Madrid in front of goal, which they should be able to, given I think they've conceded once from open play in the Champions League and 3 goals overall. That's a phenomenal record, and I think if they can limit what Real Madrid can do, then they're easily capable of scoring once, twice, and put the game to bed.
So where's the bet, Joe?
I just think Juve to win the trophy and to lift the trophy. Even money is probably the bet.
Okay, as Joe mentioned, James, 9 clean sheets in their 12 games in the Champions League so far this year. 2 clean sheets against Barcelona. Can Real Madrid go better than Barca?
I mean, it's an absolutely fantastic final, isn't it? I think, in knockout competitions, you don't always get the best 2 teams, but I think these 2 are, and they're so well matched, albeit in very different styles. So I'm, with the guys, I think in a game like this, you just go for the side with the bigger the price, really. So if I was backing the 90 minutes prices, I'd have a little bit on Juve. I mean, the both teams to score market is fascinating as well. As Joe's mentioned, Juve conceded 3 times in the Champions League, kept Barcelona quiet over 2 legs. And 11 of Real's 12 games in Europe this season have featured goals at both ends. So that's one to consider. Maybe if you do fancy Real Madrid, I think you could probably squeeze a bit more out of it by doing Real Madrid and both teams to score.
They've scored 64 games in a row now, Real Madrid.
And you just don't see them keeping a clean sheet against Juve, who, as Joe mentioned, have got the Argentinian boys up front, and they seem to have attacking threats from all over the pitch. We saw Dani Alves bossing it in the semi-finals, and Mandzukic has had a good season as well. So it's a fascinating final. I would be slightly edging towards Juve, but the bet I like on the kind of special markets is Casemiro, Real Madrid's hatchet man, to be shown a card at any time. That's evens with Paddy Power. He's had 14 bookings in the season, 6 in his last 15. In these big games, he's always happy to kind of take one for the team. He's been booked against Barca and Atletico and Bayern Munich recently. And I think there as well as all the brilliant footballers on the pitch, I think there's the potential for this to end up quite nasty and add to the entertainment with some spicy tackles, and he'll be in the thick of it.
Right, that'd be some good viewing on Saturday.
Absolutely.
What was that stat quickly, Joe?
64 games in a row, Real Madrid, I think it is, they've scored in.
Wow, incredible. Right, let's talk specials. Adrian, what have you got for us? Anything crazy? I'm sure you guys at Paddy Power have devised something for us.
Yeah, well, we've got our What Odds Paddy market up there, so anyone that wants a special bet themselves that they can think of, they can just tweet us with the hashtag What Odds Paddy, and we'll price it up and put it up there. And looking through it there, I feel the specials boys have been pretty generous with one right here. Where we've got Buffon to be man of the match, Juve keep a clean sheet, and lift the trophy up at 20-1, which
might bring a tear to the eye, that one as well.
Yeah, that's the favourite for that one. If Buffon does retire, you'd think he'd be a emotional man to get the man of the match, kind of might weigh him in a bit closer with that, and he doesn't have to do much to get it, so a clean sheet that'd have me Buffon pretty odds on to get man of the match then. Right,
I'll put you guys on the spot then. Your best bet for the match, is that going to be yours, Adrian?
Yeah, I'll take the special that we have there, 20s.
Joe, you want to stick with just Juve to lift the trophy?
Yeah, I just want to second what Adrian said about Buffon. I thought 10-1 to be man of the match. The special's good, but 10-1 to be man of the match is a good price. I was just looking through previous man of the matches in Champions League finals, and it's not always the goal scorers that get it. I think, Xavi, Schneider, Di Maria, Iniesta, they've all been named man of the match without scoring goals. So, yeah, Buffon to win man of the match, but Juve is my best bet.
And James, for you?
Yeah, I'll stick with Casemiro to get himself in the referee's notebook.
Good stuff. Okay then, right. Join us again on Thursday, the 8th of June. We'll be looking at the upcoming World Cup qualifiers. Thanks for listening.
Check out Paddy Power's new and exclusive Cash Card Plus, available to use online, at ATMs, or even down the local. Paddy Power, you beauty.